the procedure of handling the cameras down here in the studio. But first, we'll talk a little bit about the units, components that tie into the camera itself. You have the control unit up there, CCU as we call it, your switcher, the tape recorder, and the sync generator, and then of course the camera. The sync generator is one of the most important pieces up there because it supplies a synchronizing signal to your cameras, your switcher, your CCU, to tie them all in together so as they are compatible to one another when you're switching back and forth, so as you don't get tear up and flutter and so forth. So right now we're going to go into the camera itself. We'll go through and give you the outline of all the components that make up the camera, and then we'll follow up with actual procedure in the handling of the camera itself. There's 5 components for it. You have your lens, which is a 10-to-1 lens. You have your camera head. You have your viewfinder and monitor, your headsets, and then the tripod itself. We'll start down here with the tripod and point out the different controls to operate. First, you have your lock on each wheel here. If you have to be in a fixed stationary position for any length of time, so as you wouldn't move the thing around. Because when you're on the air, you have to hold still. You don't want to be jiggling it around. Next, we come up here a little farther. We have your lock and pan knobs. This is your pan lock, and this is a friction lock for panning. Up here you have your tilt lock and friction. And we'll go into them a little bit later. And then over here is a lock for when you're through with your production. You release it and drop it in the slot so as the camera will not tip over one way or another. So let's go back up to the lens up here. As I said before, it's a 10-to-1 zoom. And we have the controls for it. This is your focus control right here. And this is the zoom lens, the zoom control. Coming around on the side here, this is what we call, it's got a back focus control in here that normally is set it right there at the middle, and you don't have to monkey with that. The iris is automatic. It's a motor-driven iris in there for adjusting the lens for light and dark pictures. Now on this side here, we have a set of filters in here. You can turn it to 1 up through 4. Depending on the type of circumstances that you're using the camera for. In here we use it under number 1, which is a clear filter between the lens and the Vidicons. Like number 2, as a general rule, you'll probably use number 2 if we go in a place where there's fluorescent lights, so as that filter kind of compensates for the different color temperature of the lights. And next, of course, you got the camera head, and it is quite where all the electronic gear is made up. It's the pickup tubes are Plumicons. You have a green tube horizontally. You have a blue tube coming down from the top vertically, kind of at an angle, and the red tube is coming up from here. And they pick up the signal from the lens through a dichroic prism system that they have built into the cameras. And basically that takes care of that front part of it. As far as adjusting the camera and setting them up, that is done upstairs in the control room with the CCUs up there, the camera control unit. You people, as a general rule, won't have anything to do with that, but we do point it out. And right here at this time, I will say that these cameras can be used any way, either as a studio camera or to go out in the field in a single camera situation. Like when we go down to school board meetings, we take one of these cameras and take it down there. And when we do that, we can take out this little control unit right here. And in here is a block that's going to kill somebody. And we plug it on there, and of course your cable can be disconnected, and we hook in a power line down here, and you can operate just as you was before. And you adjust it, you set the camera up here with this local control module right here. Up on the top, you have your viewfinder. There's really no adjustment to it other than lightness and darkness. You adjust it to suit your own fancy. Up here you have your light to indicate which camera is on the subject. In this particular case, camera 2 is lit up. These buttons here are primarily for the technician when they're setting the cameras up and getting them lined up. Normally you use this with a green button pushed in all the time, because that gives you the best quality picture. Actually, if you just have the red out or the blue out, you don't get too sharp a picture on your viewfinder here. It doesn't affect your picture on the production, but it does your little monitor right here. So use the green button. Now to go back here to this part, as far as the operation of it, they are a fairly heavy camera, but if somebody's operating, taking care of the camera cords, cables, it's not, as a general rule, too hard to push them around. Now, when you're ready to go into production, the first thing you do is raise your camera to whatever height is most comfortable for you. Most generally, for the most of you, probably would leave it clear down as far as it'll go. But if you want it cranked up to suit yourself, why, do that. That would be the first thing that you would do. The next thing is to pull out this little plunger and you release your camera so it will operate. And then loosen up the lock tilt knob here, and then tighten down the friction knob so it's just easy to operate. So it almost will stand by itself. Likewise, you'll do the same way with your pan knob. Loosen it up, and then tighten back on your friction so as it still runs free, but it doesn't just, see, if you loosen them clear up, it's too loose. You're too liable to jiggle around and get away from the character that you're on. So just have it down snug, just where there's a little drag. You can tell whatever you like the best on that, as far as your tilt and friction are concerned. Now, you have, the director will tell you to tilt down, tilt up, pan either right or left, or dolly in, or dolly out. To focus this thing and zoom in, you'll zoom in as tight as it will go. See, on the outline here, you can hardly see what the teddy bear looks like. But you zoom in tight, and then focus till you get sharp outline, like in this case, the hair or something like that. Pick out some specified point, the eyes or hairline, whatever you're looking at, and focus on that. And after you've done that, you can zoom clear in, that is, to a wide shot, or come back out at any point, as long as your camera stays in approximately the same position, your focus will not change. Now, if I move this camera over to here, the focus has changed. I'm going to want to zoom it in tight. You can't all see right there, but anyhow, when you zoom it in tight, then you have to, every time you move your camera to a different position, zoom in to a close-up shot and focus, and then just as fast as you can, and then go back out to wherever you would the director wants you to go to. I don't know whether this if this would show, if he wants to switch up the camera to there. See, this is camera 1 right now that we're on. I'll go in close. I'll see it's out of focus. I'll bring it in, just so you can see what's going on. And there's the corner shot that I was talking about, that the students have a little trouble positioning. Now, the easiest way to do that, of course, I'm really too close to the character to do a good job of it. But go to extreme wide shot. If you're the guy that's going to be having your picture up in the corner, you go to extreme wide shot. And then start coming in slowly, and the director then will tell you when to stop. If he just wants a head shot, see, I'll go clear out, and he will tell you whether he wants a head shot or whatever it might be. This morning when they was doing this, they kind of wanted a full shot, but that is the easiest way to do it. I wouldn't say necessarily the proper way, but it's much easier. To help you out doing that, there is an external video button here. You can push this button, and it gives you a chance to see what the other camera is doing. He will position his, well, you can just see it. That's the picture of the other camera, right in there. Now I want the camera, the director would want this teddy bear up in the corner, so he would, the camera 2 would have his external button pushed in there also, and the director up there can direct him and tell him where to position his character so as to get this up in the proper corner that you would want. Now you can put either a wipe or any one of the 4 corners. That is then you got a vertical or a horizontal. But it's just some of those little things that help out. That chip chart that you see there, we use that when we first come in and set the cameras up in the morning. If we set the cameras up, the color camera up on a grayscale, then you can turn it on to a color chart, and without any big adjustment, you're ready to produce a color program. Now when we do that, we sometimes have to, when we put up the color chart then, we do have to adjust the control unit up there a little bit to match the two cameras together, because they should be look as near alike as possible. Otherwise, it's not going to produce a very decent looking program. And that's about covers pretty well the operation of the camera, handling of it. Your headsets, the cameraman should wear them all the time. When you are on camera, you should hang on to your levers here at all times, so as you're ready to make any movement that the director asks you to do. Is there any questions? You'll know that's a basic outline of the operation of the camera. You'll learn more now to get up and just get hands on it and try it out. Okay. These headsets get a little bit heavy and a little bit warm, but they do work. See the units when they came out. They come out equipped with headsets and intercoms on them, but they just don't work too good. So